Hello, TCG and Lorcana enthusiasts, and welcome back to the last episode of our mini-series where we were looking at each color from Rise of the Floodborn. Today we are looking at the final color, and that is Steel, which gives us probably one of the more interesting new mechanics, that being Resist. Resist stating on it that each character can resist so much damage. In essence, we have a new style of deck we play, like Resist Zoo that I've seen running around, where you're playing almost all the Resist characters and then playing the Sapphire Cogsworth that then gives everybody in your board Resist +1. So in essence, if you have a Resist +2 character, you're getting Resist +3. So meaning that the first 3 damage you would take isn't actually put on your character, which does mitigate a lot of like Song Control's ability to deal all that chip damage. Now again, Resist can't protect you from destruction spells that Ruby likes to play, but nonetheless, it's really cool. So let's check out the cards for Steel. Anyways, we have a triple beast set right here. We have the first beast. When you play this character, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. We do see some throughout the Steel right now that there are a lot of Steel characters that deal chip damage everywhere. Again, because Resist is now a prominent effect. Now, this, of course, is the first release of Resist cards. Possibilities we'll see more Resist cards as time goes on. This chip damage isn't going to be good, especially if you're playing against a deck that has the ability to resist. Especially if they're already using Cogsworth, this is completely pointless then. But I mean, if they're not playing a Resist style deck, this isn't too bad to deal that little 1 chip damage to a chosen character. But no, overall, it's not great. We have so much better cards in Steel that are better at dealing chip damage. For instance, 1 cost lower is on a Smash, and Smash does 3 damage. Anyways, our second beast, whenever one or your other characters would be dealt damage, put that many damage counters on this character instead. So this is really neat. So if you wanted to protect some major character on your board, because he has 2/8, you can put the damage on him. So he's pretty strong-willed. So you could build an Amber Steel deck where you want to like put a lot of challenges everywhere and then put like the damage onto him, and then use all your healing mechanics from Amber to heal him up, and then basically in essence draw cards for healing with like all the Rapunzel line and all of that. So it's really neat. And also, again, being able to constantly heal him up means that damaging characters, as long as you can keep him under that 8 will and get him down to having no damage on him, is really, really strong. So I could definitely see like Amber Steel healing decks utilizing him to buff up their strategies, or using him just to father cards out of their deck. Anyways, our last beast here is probably the best beast, and yes, he is going for a $35 price tag, but he is extremely, extremely good. I think a lot of decks are just simply playing him straight out and not really using the other 2 beasts in any deck to shift. But again, he does shift 3 over any beast. We do have the older beast in this set that can knock out items when played. It's better this way. At the start of your turn, if this character has no damage on it, you get to draw a card. Otherwise, you get +4 for the turn. What is really nice is just playing him on the field for his hard cost, and then just having him sit there and draw cards. If your opponent doesn't have a way to actually damage him, you don't quest with him until late game, until you're going for that push to win. Otherwise, you're just letting him sit there and drawing a card. If you have multiples out of these, you get to draw 2 cards plus your draw for your turn. Again, drawing is super important in this game because typically you only draw unless you have cards that allow you to draw, or draw engines in your deck is the draw for the turn. So again, this beast right here is very, very important. He's much like the Donald Duck from Emerald that allows you to draw on the start of your turn, but that gives your opponent also a draw. Now, again, hand control doesn't really care about that because they'll just easily rip it out of your opponent's hand, which means they lose 1 more card. And again, your opponent can choose whether or not to draw it. But nonetheless, this is just very, very good for drawing card, and doesn't give your opponent a card, and also makes your opponent have to deal with it because, like I said, you're always going to leave it unexerted so that you constantly can get that draw. We're not here looking for 4 power. We're here looking for drawing cards. So, but I see a lot of decks just hard casting this. I don't really see a lot of decks ever really utilizing these beasts or the older beasts to shift into him. He's not that bad of a cost either at 5, and he does start threatening that 2 lore per turn, especially in your late game pushes. But anyways, we have Binja. When you play this character, you may banish chosen item. Now this of course replaces the beast from set 1. Beast from set 1 was a 5 cost. He does the exact same thing, quest for 2. He's now a 3 cost, quest for 2, and does the exact same thing. Yes, he has 2/3, but he's a cheaper cost card, and especially with Popsicle being rampant throughout Sapphire decks right now, it's important that we get destruction on items much quicker. So this is now a mandatory over the beast from set 1. They both quest for 2. The beast is stronger than Binja, but Binja is much faster to be played on the board. And to remove that Popsicle before your opponent's turn for play of Flaversham, where he then gets to destroy the Popsicle and draw 2. So, in essence, you remove that ability for them to get that extra 2 cards into their hand. So this is just taking the place of the beast from set 1. You can still use the beast from set 1 if you wanted more item destruction, but this is just now much better and much faster, and he quests for 2 on a 3 cost body of 2/3. Again, the aspect of power creep here, where I don't sure why we need to have 3 cost guys already starting the quest for 2. I've said it multiple times now. My fear is that if each set power creeps the previous sets, in essence, each set tries to attempt to power creep the previous set and doesn't actually slow down the game, we're going to see games that could go like turn 4, we already have the finishing move, requested for 20, and we're done. I don't want Lorcana to become a fast pace by turn 4, we're winning the game. I think it should be a lot slower. That's why I think we need cards that can guard against your opponent questing and stuff like that to help slow down the game just some. Yes, we have cards that steal lore, but the problem is those cards are just so slow and gimmicky to how they steal lore from your opponent that it's not always going to be great. But yeah, my hope is we're not going to see power creep after power creep after power creep in each set. If we are, Ransburg, you need to slow down, and you need to maybe really consider your power creeping in your game. No one wants to play a game where each set power creeps out the last set. Trust me, it's not fun. And it just makes the game way too fast in some aspects. So, we're seeing it here. My hope is set 3, we'll see a little bit of a slowdown with the location ideas and stuff like that. We got Chief Bogo. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, you 1 damage opposing character. Again, we've seen it with every color. There's at least a character that does something when you play a Floodborn character. Again, we don't have a lot of Floodborn characters, and not all the Floodborn characters are good either, so it's really hard to kind of play these guys and justify them. Like I said, if we can see more and more characters down the line that have the Floodborn tag, this black border right here, then I'm perfectly fine saying that these cards will get more synergy, but as of right now, they just don't have enough synergy cards. Especially because we have so many good first set cards that still need to be put into decks. But the chip damage is neat. I mean, it does it for each opposing character, but again, if you're playing something with resist, that 1 little chip damage isn't going to matter because most stuff in Steel has resist too, so it's not going to matter at all. And again, if you're playing Sapphire, most Sapphire decks are going to run Cogsworth now. I have respect because of that resist +1 given to the entirety of the field. Again, the Cogsworth has to be knocked out to remove it, but if we play Aurora to give everything ward on the board, then it's a little hard to do that as well, which means you'd have to knock out Aurora, which already has resist 1, and then a Cogsworth who now has ward. So be mindful that, again, all these guys who can play Floodborn are very great from discarding cards from our opponent's hand, drawing stuff, healing stuff, all of that, putting stuff in our inkwell. It's all good, but stealing lore. We just need to see more Floodborn characters before we can actually say these guys are good. Anyways, we have 2 Cinderella here. Whenever you play this character, you may draw a card and choose and discard a card. So anyways, she's just 1 more cost body than what Simba was. Simba from set 1 did the exact same thing, but on a 1 cost body. Cinderella is now doing it on a 2 cost body. We've seen it before. This deck likes to cycle through its cards pretty easily. But anyways, we have this Shift 5 Cinderella, 7 costs. She's got Resist 2 already on her, and then this is a card that can be debated on putting into song control decks, because whenever you play a song, this character may challenge ready characters, and she is a 5/5. She is Resist 2, so meaning that if you challenge, say, a 2 power character, she takes no damage for that challenge because she's resisting that 2 damage, but if she challenges a 4 character, then she will take 2 damage on her. So just be mindful of the fact that she resists the first 2 damage on her. Like I said, a Resist Zoo deck is a good possibility. I saw it running around. I saw a video on it about Phone Tick. You all know I really like his deck profiles, and I've been using a lot of them for my testing series, so I may have to check out that one. But before we do that, I definitely want to test out the deck that's really running around the meta right now, and that's the Amethyst Ruby deck. They're definitely running around the meta. But nonetheless, it actually is a pretty good character right here. Like I said, for song control decks, this isn't half bad. I would play this little Cinderella for the draw engine. That way you can just cheaper cost out this Cinderella. And like I said, having all the use of all your songs, especially off your aerials and your singing Cinderellas, are not bad. Again, she does go over any Cinderella, so she could go over the singer Cinderella as well, if you really, really wanted to. We got a generic Donald Duck, 6/5. All I can say about that. We got Ellie Law Boaf, 4/2/5 for 2 lore, isn't half bad. Now this Goofy is very interesting. He quests for 4. The only other character we have that's questing for 4, I believe, let me know down in the comments if there's any other character, is Flynn Rider. But Flynn Rider has this stipulation from Emerald that how many cards in your opponent's hand, he loses that much lore on him. So if your opponent has 5 cards, he doesn't quest for a thing. If your opponent has a 1 card, he quests for 3. This Goofy doesn't have this stipulation, but he does have a 9 lore count. But that's not too hard. If you play Sapphire Steel and use Sapphire's ability to ramp many cards into your Inkwell, it is not impossible to get up to the 9 to bring this Goofy out. And if you can see, he is 10/10. Meaning that it's going to take a lot to punch through him. Now again, if you play Sapphire, there's an easy way to use Aurora to give him ward so that your opponent can't select him for doing damage effects. And heck, if you play Cogsworth, you can give him a resist 1. So I don't think this is really power creep, but we are starting to see this aspect of like 4 lore questing guys. But Flynn Rider has a stipulation that he's on how many cards in your opponent's hand. He does have evasive, so I mean, in any aspect, he can't be challenged except with evasive guys, but could still be nuked off by, of course, kill spells and damage spells. But this Goofy is really good. I haven't seen many decks play him. I just think because of this steep cost right now, and I think the only deck that can really steep the cost on him is Sapphire. I think right now games are just so quick that they usually end about late mid game to early late game, and this guy is probably in the mid late game that you'll be playing him out. But again, Sapphire does have the ability to quickly ramp up into him. So Sapphire probably has the best way to play this guy, but nonetheless, really cool card. Again, we're seeing another guy that quests for 4. Added 10/10 body is very strong. We have Hercules. He can shift for 4 over any Hercules. He has resist 2. That's pretty nice. We have a 2-cost Hercules that quests for 1. We got a couple of Jafar here. Jafar being Mr. Snake and Jafar being Jafar. Anyways, Jafar Snake, he can shift 2 over any Jafar. And during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may draw a card. So very nice. He is a 3/4 body here. Just be mindful of that. He doesn't have a lot of will on his snake body, which looks mechanical here, which is really, really cool. A neat idea for the steel deck. But nonetheless, he's pretty cool. You do get to draw a card, so I would put him like into like maybe a steel ruby deck, so you can utilize the Red Queen and the Tiger. Oh, I'm forgetting his name, but the Tiger from Ruby as well that can gain a lore for every time you challenge, and you get to draw a card for every time you challenge from the Red Queen. Queen of Hearts. Or the Red Queen, I can't remember her name. But you get it. I don't trust him, sire. During your turn, this character gains evasive. So again, we're seeing those guys that gain evasive on your turn to deal with your opponent's evasive board states. We have, of course, Kronk. He has naturally a resist 1. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, may deal 2 damage to chosen character. Again, I put him in, of course, to a Ruby Steel deck just so you can utilize the Red Queen and the Tiger again, just so you can get that lore and that extra draw. And it also does the 2 damage, which isn't too bad either. We got Lawrence. Whenever this character has no damage, he gets a +4. So in essence, he's a challenger, where the ones that would get like the challenger plus something is pretty neat. But once you have damage on him, he's not all that great. Even if he quests for 2, again, another body at 3 that quests for 2, still not bad. I don't think I really see much of a way of playing him. Yeah, the first turn he gets the quest. The first turn he challenges, or the first thing that challenges him, that even survives and just deals 8 damage on him, he's kind of just there for the questing. And your opponent can easily knock out a 0-4 guy. So, just be mindful of that. Still not bad. I mean, again, 2 lore on a 3 cost body is not bad. Lei Xing. Whenever this character quests you, this character gains evasive this turn. Oh, your characters gain evasive this turn. So in essence, he quests and then gives everything evasive. So again, so you can deal with those evasive strategies. Mainly that's what these characters do most of the time. Is just they help deal with the evasive style strategy decks. Anyways, we have another magic broom. Fun fact. This is a magic broom, which means that the amethyst Mickey Mouse that can return magic brooms to your hand and reduce their cost by 1 can be utilized with this magic broom, because all he said is magic broom. This is magic broom. Whenever you play this character, chosen character gets resist +1 until the start of your next turn, which I think is really, really good. Giving a resist +1 to something you want, especially if you're going to play like a broom control deck, where you want to give something like resist 1, like Rafiki or Zeus, so they can resist a damage when they come in and swing off that rush ability, is not bad at all. But again, I think you'd want to play more with utilizing that Mickey Mouse engine with the amethyst broom, so you could just make sure you're cycling them back to your hand and constantly using them. Anyways, we have Namari. She has bodyguard and then blades. This character can challenge ready characters, which is very nice. But most of the time, you want her up there for her bodyguard ability. Again, when they're in rest, when they're exerted, they have bodyguards. So whether or not you use her like for songs or for other things, or simply just to remove bodies off the board and put her into that bodyguard state, and then have your opponent come out swinging her, it's not all that bad. Again, challenging ready characters is really nice, especially if your opponent plays out a character and passes over to you and they haven't read this card. You can just remove that character instantaneously off the board, especially if you've been playing a steel control strategy of just controlling the board. I could definitely see this going in like to a Ruby build, just so you can make sure you're controlling the board completely and still protect those major characters you don't want hurt. Pacha, he's a vanilla here that quests for 2 on a 6 body. Prince Naveen, again, just a vanilla here. We got Queen of Hearts, so it is Queen of Hearts. Again, I called her the Red Queen, but I suppose it's the same. You can call that. Whenever opposing character is banished, you may ready this character. So that's pretty nice as well. You could play a Emerald strategy in here, but not so great. Where the Emerald Beast says as long as damage is dealt around the board, he gets to restand and quest. She's just, something has to be banished. So there could be a chance you could utilize her in that Emerald strategy, so that, because she doesn't state she can't quest for each time she restands. So she could quest, something could be banished, and you could quest like bring up the beast, bring up her, and then even use her to swing to knock something out so she can restand herself. So there's some implications of using her. I think if she was at 1 more lore, I think she'd just be a little better. But at 1 lore on a 5/6 body, I don't think she's all that great. I don't know if the Emerald strategy with the beast would even want to use this at all. I definitely would say it's hard. We have Robin Hood. He deals 1 damage to chosen character. Again, this is very, very strong for the beast strategy. For the Emerald Beast strategy, where the beast can restand himself anytime a character is damaged, you can basically put out these Robin Hoods, use their effects to deal a damage, restanding that beast so that beast can quest again. So just a card here that facilitates that combo line there really well, with the aspect of course, everything else that Emerald deck can do. I definitely need to check out that one. The Huntsman, whenever this character quests, you may draw a card and choose and discard a card. So here we go, more power creep. A 2-cost body that quests for 2. I mean, yeah, he's not very strong. He's a 1/1, but it does allow you to cycle card too. So he's not that bad of a draw cycle card, just so you can see more stuff in your hand. The Prince on a 3 body, he's a 1/3. He has resist 1 and quest for 2. Again, a little bit more power creep, but he's got bodyguard as well. So we're seeing the Steel is very good at bodyguards from the previous sets. You could still play like a Musketeer strategy, throwing in some of these new bodyguarded characters like Namari and the Prince, because they have bodyguard on them and they're just very strong. We have a couple of Tianas here. This Tiana has resist 2, and while this character is exerted and you have no cards in your hand, your opponent can't play actions. So very, very strong, especially in late game with specific deck strategies. Now, I don't know how good that is going to be because a lot of decks right now are playing draw engines in them now. But nonetheless, it's really cool because this means your opponent can't play any songs. They can't play any actions. So all they get to do is play a character and that's it. So in essence, you never want to have a hand with this Tiana because all you want to do is you want your opponent forcefully having to come after this Tiana. And with a resist 2 and playing in the Sapphire engine, they have the Cogsworth out that gives you plus 1 more resist, makes her resist 3. Meaning that characters that have 4 power or more are the only ones that can challenge her and deal damage to her. But in a Steel strategy that has plenty of ways to kind of cut through their their cards, especially if they're not using a big enough draw engine, could definitely see use to this. So I think this has some use. She can't shift. She's not a shift Tiana, even though I think she probably should be a shift Tiana. But nonetheless, not bad. I could definitely see like a Sapphire Steel deck playing her, just because in Sapphire you're not going to have many cards in your Sapphire deck, especially if you don't play the Popsicle Draw engine. Even if you play Popsicle Draw engine, because you have so much ability to add so much stuff from your hand into your Inkwell, Fishbone, Pooh, you can easily just rip out your entire hand and make sure your opponent can't play it in a single action. Now, I'm not sure if this does mean that songs can't be sung. I'd have to check FAQs if you can still sing songs. If you can't sing songs because that's playing an action, then she just mitigates a lot of deck strategies, especially decks that want to play actions, need to play actions, and want to do everything. Like I said, questing for her towards the late game is probably where you want to be questing so you constantly can keep her up. Now, mindful that, again, Ruby does have a ways to out-resist, and that's just by board wiping the board. We have a vanilla Tiana here. That's pretty much it about that. We have our actions now. Charge. Chosen character gets Challenger 2, which means when they challenge for the turn, they get a +2 and resist 2. So it's not bad, especially if you want to buff up characters to banish stuff and then deal damage. It's not bad. I don't think a lot of decks are going to utilize it. Now, a couple of songs in here are used in song control. Let the Storm Rage On is a 3-cost song that can be sung on the 1-cost Cinderella from Amber, and it just deals 2 damage to chosen character and draw a card. I really love these actions that allow you to do something and then draw a card after using the action so you can refresh your hand for that lost card. I really, really like these action cards. I think we need to see more action cards that allow you to do something and then draw a card. These are really good. But nonetheless, this is a very, very good control card for song control. Pick a fight, just you choosing character can challenge ready characters this turn. In essence, if you're going to play a heavy control strategy, this is what this card would do. Just, I don't think it's really all that great, personally. We got the Strength of a Raging Fire, another really good song control card. Again, also a very good Disney song as well from Mulan. I think this is one of my sister's favorite songs from Mulan. So Mulan is a really good movie, and this song is very good to listen to. Okay, so anyways, deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of characters you have in play. Again, just a very strong card that can be sung off the 1-cost Cinderella. Song control can easily manipulate this because we can play so many small bodies onto the board, and then we can deal like 3 to 4 damage a turn. And we are seeing a lot of characters only have about 4 to 5 will. So it's not impossible to like go sing with this, sing with swords, and knock out your opponent's board. So nonetheless, very cool. Last cannon, you can pay 1, banish this item, chosen character gets challenger 3, +3 for the turn. It's okay. If you really, really need to have challenger 3, so you need to challenge stuff off your opponent's board, it's not bad. I don't think challenger really only really works for certain deck strategies. But if you're playing control, there's so much better control cards than this. And then we have mouse armor. Chosen character gets resist +1 until the start of your next turn. Again, another item that's okay, but we have so many other cards that can give resist. Cogsworth's just so much better at it, and he gives it the entirety of the board, and it's constant. It doesn't disappear in any way, so he's just much better. If you're going to play resist Zoo, you can probably play like maybe 2 of these, but I wouldn't play more than that. Heck, maybe even just 1, but Cogsworth is just so much better than this armor. And then weight set. Whenever you play a character with 4 power or more, you may pay 1 to draw a card. Again, not a bad card because it does give us a draw, but again, if you're playing specific colors with better draw engines, for instance, Steel Sapphire, like a Resist Zoo deck like I've been talking about, you're going to play the Popsicle engine. Or maybe you don't even want to draw cards because you want Tiana to have the ability to keep your opponent from playing any actions per turn and trying to deal with this Tiana. Which is not easy because if you have Ward Up, she can't be selected, especially if they play out Maleficent, then they'd have to get rid of the Aurora to get rid of Tiana, but then they'd have to get rid of Cogsworth because you would have Resist 3 up. But nonetheless, it's okay. I'm not seeing a lot of decks play. Like I said, Steel, in my opinion, is going to go into Sapphire and utilize a lot of the Sapphire cards to play that Resist Zoo strategy, so there's a much better draw engine in there in Popsicle. And there are just better draw engines in the other colors as well. So just be mindful of that there are some better ways to draw cards than having this item up. But I mean, it's not bad. I mean, every time you do play a character with 4 power or more, you do get to draw a card. I could see it probably being played in a Musketeer deck as a couple copies of, just to mitigate that extra draw, because a lot of the bodyguards can be at 4+ power, especially the higher ranked bodyguards. So an extra draw isn't bad there, but Musketeers have the Tabard, which draws if your Musketeer is banished, so it's just a little bit better. So overall, Steel is the same as we've seen before. It's got a lot of cards that deal chip damage. They have new ways to banish items. They have the whole new mechanic of resist. They got ways to draw cards. They got ways to deal damage. They can give stuff evasive for your turn. They got new bodyguards. They got plenty of ways to just power creep guys onto the board that can quest for 2 or on round number 3. So yeah, Steel is still very good. It's just a control strategy, as it always will be. I doubt we're going to see like aggro Steel. I really like to see if Steel could go more aggro than just control style. It'd be really cool if we could see like Steel cards that are extremely aggressive. We're seeing Ruby is still saying extremely aggressive. Emerald's a very strong control-y style. I see Amber as the heal color. Amethyst is kind of your do whatever you kind of want color. There's just so much mixture of whatever it is. Emerald's control as well, but I think it's more like hand control and field control. Stuff that basically your opponent doesn't want to challenge or deal and has to deal with. As we're seeing like annoying Emerald cards. Ruby is all about aggression, aggression, aggression. Sapphire is ramping everything up. And Steel is just plain chip damage control. So, let me know down in the comments your thoughts on the Steel cards from Rise of the Floodborn. And let me know your thoughts completely on all the cards from Rise of the Floodborn. What do you think of the power creep? What color do you think came out the best? Why do you think Amethyst Ruby is still the best deck of Lorcana? Let me know all of that down in the comments. And while you're commenting, do make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can notify when my videos go live for you. And we'll see you here next time on Mama Dragons TCG.